Josh McDowell is a friend of Crossroads Christian Communications. He has been a guest countless times, and I've had the opportunity of interviewing him several times as well in the past, and he is back. He has a new book that's out called Undaunted. It's a remarkable autobiographical overview of his life. There's a movie that is also being seen around the world in various languages, but he's here to talk about his life, and I'm so glad that he is. Josh, usually we're talking about one of the 127 books you've written. Now, this is one of your books, but we've never really talked about your life. Last time you were with us, you gave us little snippets, but here's an opportunity to take us right through the story. And first of all, welcome.
It's so good to be back. Come on, you guys are first class.
Well, we try to get first class guests, that's for sure. Josh, you gave up on God when you were 12. I know there's a lot of story there from your birth to 12 years of age, but why did you give up on Him?
I think there were several reasons. Probably the biggest reason is from 6 years old to 13 years old, every week, 4 to 5 times a week, I was homosexually raped by a man by the name of Wayne Bailey, and my parents wouldn't stop it. When I was 6 years old, he was hired on the farm to be a housekeeper and cook. And whenever my mother would go downtown shopping, they'd leave for a weekend, my folks, my mother would always grab me by the shoulder and march me and make me stand in front of this man. And she'd always say, now you obey Wayne. You do everything he tells you to do. And if you're disobedient, you're going to get a thrashing when I get home. So what do you do at 6 years old? You do what Wayne Bailey tells you.
Yeah.
At 9 years of age, I got up the courage to tell my mother. And she wouldn't believe me. She made me go out to the willow tree, break off a branch, take my shirt off, and she stood there and whipped me until there was blood on my back for lying. And Jim, you can't know what that's like unless you've been through it. The biggest memory I have of being a child is fear. I remember being, for years, I don't think anyone else knew it, but feeling so lonely in a crowd and fearful. I knew what was being done to me was exceptionally evil, but I couldn't stop it, and my parents wouldn't stop it. And it's had profound effects upon me to this day.
Well, I mean, you're 72, and you're recounting the story, and you're emotionally...
That's right, I am 72.
Yeah, I know.
Forgot it.
I never know it. You were, but it's still so close to the surface. And of course, this is the case for millions of people out there who've had similar experiences as children. Did you have any kind of moral compass or teaching or influence in your life in those early years that told you that this was wrong, or did you just intuitively know it was wrong?
You have to remember, in those days, absolutely no one talked about it.
Right.
So it'd be pretty hard to have a moral compass.
Yeah.
I mean, you never saw it on TV, and radio, in a book, on television, anything. And that's like, so many that are being abused by priests and other religious leaders. People say, oh, they're just in it for the money. Why didn't they come forward then? I know why. Nobody would have believed them. Come on, especially with a priest.
Yeah.
Nobody would have believed. And they'd have gotten what I got, punishment for lying. So I don't think I had a moral conscience. Now, I remember my mother used to take me to church and always drop me off. It was a church that, in spite of what the pastor said, I still believed in God. I mean, it was a church that had absolutely no biblical teaching, a very, very liberal, traditional church. But I knew something within me told me this was wrong. And so I just had that fear of being alone.
Okay, so you're being sexually abused for 6 years.
7 years.
7 years. Your mother, whom you love dearly, and in fact she plays a big role in your life and in the book, The latter part of the book is a lot about her, and we'll get to that at some point in these interviews. But she's basically physically abusing you. I mean, if she's whipping you till there's blood, and your father, and we'll talk about him too, who's an alcoholic. I mean, you were a prisoner in a very strange house.
Yeah, my parents had almost zero education. I don't think either one of them ever went beyond the second grade. And I think my mother, to her advantage, probably did the best she could in raising me, the best she knew how. But you have to again understand back there, nobody talked about it. Nobody believed that ever happened. It happened just as much then as now. And so when I went to my mother at 9 years old and 12 years old and told her, and she literally thought I was lying, but making a horrible lie about a person.
Did she not question Wayne Bailey? Did she not go to him and say, my son is telling me this, is it true?
I don't know, but I doubt it.
And
I think if she had she wouldn't have responded the way she did with me.
Yeah. So there you are, a little guy, feeling, I'm sure, great injustice. Did you think at a time like that to cry out to this God you're hearing about in church, or did that not occur to you?
Yeah, it did, but I cried out in anger.
Yeah. Why are you letting this happen to me?
When I was, I think, 11 years old, my oldest brother sued my parents for everything they had. And one thing he got was a house my folks had built for workers on the farm. And I remember the day they moved it. My parents didn't want him to move it. And people from Union City, Michigan, all around there. And when I ran up the hill, so excited, wow, we're gonna move this house. I didn't know there'd been a lawsuit, all that. And everybody started laughing, ridiculing my parents, calling them dirty, filthy names. What would you say? I broke emotionally. I fell apart and I ran down and I hid myself in a grain full of shelled corn, buried myself up to my neck, and I cried to die. I didn't want to live anymore. I felt such shame. And one thing that happened there is I damned my father and I damned God, because I felt God had abandoned me in that corn bin that day. And when I walked out of that corn bin about 1 o'clock that afternoon, I never looked back. I just never even thought about God or even my dad much anymore because of the deep hurt of my life.
The fact that you got out of the corn bin is a miracle. I mean, people drown in that kind of a situation.
Only I was so hungry and thirsty.
Yeah.
No, I'm serious.
Yeah.
I was there.
You had to get home.
I was there over 3 hours. My parents, here I broke down in front of all these people crying, screaming, and ran down the hill away from them. And my parents never came looking for me. That's why I felt so isolated at that time.
Josh McDowell's book is called Undaunted. Take a look at it here, friends. It's a remarkable book. So it is a book that's going to just totally amaze you, and you want a copy. There's no doubt about it.